Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the VIP Play Today Show. We're here on Friday, April 18th, and we've got a packed episode. As everyone knows, lots happening in the world of Tennessee and specifically Tennessee football. We've got quite a special guest today. Tim Barker himself, one of the biggest sports bettors in the entire United States. Someone we have known here for quite a while. Great guy will be joining the show later to speak a little bit about what's going to be going on with the Tennessee Titans season, some bets, prop bets on the NFL draft. He knows a lot about what you can see and what you want to take bets on for the NFL draft. So we'll talk to him about that. And as usual, I'll be joined here in a second by my co-hosts, Will and Robert, and we'll have a lot of fun today. So before we get into the action with Will and Robert, let's quickly touch base on the VIP Play app launch. If you're a current Zen Sports customer, you've seen our communication to you regarding the shutdown of Zen Sports and the transfer of funds, right? So that's on April 28th. And then 9 days later, we expect to launch the VIP Play app. It will be available to everybody in Tennessee, only Tennessee, so it'll be exclusive to Tennesseans. And we're super excited. So if you got our email communication. I know a few people had questions. We've taken care of you. But if you're a current Zen Sports customer, make sure to check your email because we want to make sure any funds on Zen Sports are safely moved over to the new app or withdrawn to your bank account. All the details in that email. If you need help, just reach out to our support. We're always there to help out. VIP Play, we're super excited for the launch. 200 plus leagues, bets from all of our major partners. So Tony Basilio, Paul Kaharski, A to Z Sports, they'll all have their own special bets every day, every week. There'll be a lot of cool same game parlay bets from our partners. And then the sweepstakes, right? The sweepstakes will continue every month on repeat for a $10,000 bonus bet. Same logistics as it was on Zen Sports, right? You'll earn an entry for a bet. You'll earn an entry for every dollar bet, and you'll earn 10x entries on parlays. We're bringing back our referral program. That'll be if you refer someone, you'll earn two $25 free bets and a ton more cool promos, daily odds boosts, profit boosts, and we'll have more leagues and sports than anyone else in Tennessee. So that's all coming soon. I think there's going to be a period of time where you can actually download the app. Although as we get closer to the date, we'll have more details for everybody. We're working internally to organize marketing, organize the launch, and it's super duper exciting. So if you have a early welcome bonus offer, an early VIP offer, rest assured, even though the date has moved, that offer is still valid. And we can't wait to launch VIP Play and have a lot of fun with all our new customers and existing customers who just want more action. That's what we want here at VIP Play. We want action. So do you. I thought of that a long time ago, and it still fits our business model and what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to limit players as soon as you start winning bets. We're trying to take a lot of bets. We're trying to grow, and we're trying to build a community here in Tennessee around trust, transparency, and innovation, right? So we want to bring new gambling features, new marketing like we did with the sweepstakes, like we used to have with our cash rewards program. We're all about innovation here at VIP Play. And the VIP Play app is just another or a better avenue for us to innovate. So we are so excited. More details, you can go to zensports.com/VIP Play. You can email us at our customer support on the current Zen Sports app. And as I said, you'll see more details here on X when we are gung ho and just straight to launch. So we appreciate everybody who's a current Zen Sports customer. And as I said, check your email. We've got some information there for you. So if Robert and Will are here, let's bring them in. Boys, how are we doing?
Hello. Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm having a good Friday. It is Good Friday, actually. So makes sense.
Yes, it is. Great to be back.
Absolutely. We've got a lot to talk about today. I think we would be silly And I know, Will, you're a little sick of this. You've been talking about this all week, but we need you here today to give us the most recent news on Tennessee quarterback Nico. Oh, sorry. Former Tennessee quarterback Nico Alavia. I can't pronounce the last name, but I'm going to guess you can, Will. What's new?
Nico, I'm a leaving. I'm a leaving Tennessee.
Wow.
That's been the joke. Nothing super burning has gone on the last 24 hours. I think everybody in the national media kind of jumped on it because this is really the first time something of this nature has happened, at least on this scale. Everybody's kind of leaning towards UCLA will be the landing spot for Nico. That's all but done. Some news broke that it wasn't completely done, but it's still trending that direction. Odds are going to make a little bit less than he was making at Tennessee, so form your own opinions about that. Obviously, UCLA less competitive than Tennessee, so the whole thing has been a whirlwind around here, but ultimately Tennessee fans and everyone who kind of follows is just ready to move on and see what's next. So the transfer portal opened Wednesday. Have seen some names go in. There's been a lot of rumors, even some guys that aren't in the portal and probably have no intentions of even considering Tennessee get thrown out just because Tennessee fans start to talk, and that's how kind of rumors circulate. But there's been a lot of names. Tennessee has not landed on a quarterback to replace Nico Iamaleava yet, but are probably getting closer, I would imagine. There will be some more, how do you say this? There'll be some more validity to rumors that start circulating this weekend. Maybe some things come within the beat writers around the program or from within the program with some of these names that are in the portal. Tennessee is also looking at adding some receivers to help whoever will eventually be the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing kind of blew up in his face. I'm seeing he's getting nowhere near. I've seen he's getting offers for half of what he was being paid at by UT originally, not even close to that $4 million range. And then I heard when he actually entered the portal, he put a tag on his entrance or his name that said "Do not contact." So it sounded like by the time he had skip practice, made headlines, and it really did blow up. I'm seeing New York Times articles about this. He had already figured out who he's going to, and it sounds like that's UCLA.
Yeah, I mean, Robert, you can expand on this, but I think the general consensus is that it was a bad move for him personally. Now, I don't think it was it's not good for Tennessee either, and we'll see how it ultimately impacts Nico's career, but just kind of the way I've summarized it this week is they overplayed their hand, if you will. I think they went into it thinking that Tennessee would give them what they wanted. Tennessee didn't budge, and then by that point, it was you had dug your grave. You have to go lay in it. And so the market for a quarterback in April is not what it would have been in December for Nico Iamaleava. So a good learning lesson. But obviously the national implications of it are just because of the landscape of where we're at with college football. And these are some of the growing pains that were ultimately inevitable when you opened up the floodgates with NIL with no kind of guidance, no restrictions. So this is kind of that ripple effect, and they'll get better at it as we go through the years and kind of figure out things to do. But it's not a good situation for anybody, really.
You know what it's like, guys, when you wake up in the morning and you step outside, and even before you get that first cup of coffee in you, you just bathe in that sunlight, just take it all into your eyes, and it just reinvigorates you and just gets you going. That's what's happening to me right now at the start of this show. All of these things that you're saying, right from the very, very top, it's all, everything, of course, that I've read, it's you're echoing exactly that, and it's all happening in real time. What a time to be alive, guys. This is unprecedented. We haven't seen anything at all like this because it's all brand new. We're blazing brand new trails, and I think it's absolutely fascinating to me. I don't. Yeah, I've mentioned many times. Jacob's probably already. He could probably finish my sentence. He knows that I'm an agent of chaos, and all of this that's happening is brand new. And there's records breaking, and there's bulls crashing into china cabinets, and there's nothing we could do about it. Right? We can't pull back the tape and say stop. Let's stop the world and go back to a time before NIL. Nope. No way. No how. That's Mark Emmert's problem now at this point, and I don't know what's to happen next. They're gonna just figure it out on their own, right, as it goes. You know,
Well,
guys.
I don't think anyone's gonna. It's tough to, as an athlete, it's tough to do what Nico did next year or even later this year.
Yeah.
Because it did not. I mean, the articles that were written about this guy were incredibly. I mean, I don't want to. Heinous isn't the right word, but it's the only word that can come to mind. I mean, people are talking about his draft stock and how he's only, obviously only about the money, not a team player. This really blew up in his face. Robert, you asked the question: who is to blame for all of this?
Who's to blame for all of this? I think it's got to just be it's probably his father, right? And so. And maybe we could go ahead and just take a look at this. I don't know the facts. I could only read what I see, and once I see it repeated in another article, in another column, in another tweet, I say, well, maybe that smoke means that there is fire. So let's take a look at Exhibit A, gentlemen, shall we? Carson Beck. Someone took a look, moving from, unless that's my... I think, okay, we take a look at Carson Beck and we notice the season that he had, the numbers that he put up, concrete evidence saying, here's, all your great stats and what you did for the program and what you did for yourself. And you enter the portal like you're supposed to because there's a demand, and you move on to Miami and you get something better than what you had. We don't know what he had, and we don't know what he currently has. Numbers get thrown out. Okay, so, and by the way, Imalayava and Arch Manning were basically 1-2 coming out of high school, right? If you take a look at many good sources, they say coming out of high school, these were the top two, almost 1 and 1A, who you wanted a quarterback to run your program. And he got a deal, Nico did, and it was about $2 million, maybe a little bit more, to sit on the bench behind Joe Milton. $2 million, no matter what, here you go. And here's another $2 million because this is what we agreed to, and he had himself a fantastic season. And then, things started to unfold. And again, we could probably talk about the logistics of how the transfer portal works. Much like in college basketball, I think it shouldn't happen during the playoffs. Maybe you push that a week later, or maybe even an hour after the championship game. I don't know. It might help. Irregardless, Nico is seeing this, and he sees Carson Beck going to beautiful Miami, Florida, and he says, I want that. I want all of that money. Actually, I want more of that because I'm better. It's subjective at this point, right? So it's tough, right? I am never going to be able to put myself into the kid's shoes or in an instance like that. But you have to say, well, he's young. He's seeing this money, no matter how short term it is. And he says, this is it. This is the step we're going to do. Jacob, you hit it right on the head at the start of this great segment. And I could go on about NIL forever. I'm telling you, I could write a thesis on this at this point. I love it so much. He clearly saw the short-term gain and did not see the forest beyond the trees, which is what's probably going to come, a great NFL career where it's exponentially so much more money. And now you're at UCLA. Perhaps I'm thinking it's going to be UCLA. I don't know if maybe dad or maybe someone said, hey, by the way, this contract you're going to get, yeah, they got like the highest state tax in the country. And
that's true.
I don't know. Will, maybe you could correct me. I think if I took a look at my tax information, I just filed minutes before the deadline. I think Tennessee also has no state tax. That whatever deal he's going to get at UCLA is going to be like half ultimately of what he could have gotten if he just would have stayed at Tennessee.
Yeah, I've seen some comments that it's about the offense as well. I think that's a little bit of a cover up right now.
Offense.
That they're not catering to his play style. I don't know. Regardless, right? I think he's regretting his decision a little bit. We say who's to blame for all this. I get his dad has some role in it. I still think the NCAA, right, for not putting this program out with more guidelines, with more rules, with protecting the players from situations like this, right? Remember, this guy's how old? You think he's 20? He signed a contract his junior year of high school with, I don't think we mentioned this, but it had upwards of $10 million in incentives if they win a championship, if he wins the Heisman, right? And I just think it's a bad look for the future of his career. But at the end of the day, he's homegrown from Tennessee. I did not realize that either. And I saw a funny article. A pastor in Knoxville, Will, you probably know about this, had a really unfortunate scenario take place. Was away from home, and he comes back, and the only thing he cares about is Nico, and he's pissed about Nico. And that's the first thing he said to his wife, his family, the news. People care about their football here. So I think Tennessee's going to rebound. It's going to be interesting to see more names come out of that hat, and maybe big time players enter the portal to get to Tennessee. I mean, that's a hell of a program. But we'll see, and we'll keep everybody updated. I think we're going to keep it in the state of Tennessee to talk about what's next. And what's next is Cam Ward. Of all places, Twitch.com doing a Fortnite stream. Cam Ward shows some pretty biased opinions on the top players in the NFL. Treylon Burks all of a sudden is a top 4 wide receiver. I think Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard, that's a good duo. I don't know if they're the top 2 of the top 4 running backs. Callahan's the top NFL coach. Cam Ward is basically saying, I know I'm going to the Tennessee Titans. I'm not doing anything in my power to mess it up. I don't see any other way to translate this. I think maybe we could talk about who's next after him in the draft, knowing that he's number 1. But Robert, how are you breaking down Cam Ward, his Fortnite stream, and everything that was said?
If you asked me to say, look, I want to make a bet, and I'd like to make a bet that Cam Ward is the first overall pick. I don't know like how high a number I can do. And here's the absolute beauty of the betting public, right? They're going to get so much better information, so much faster than I can ever do it. And they'll let me know who's going to happen. Now, we didn't need, by the way, yes, okay. I know what Fortnite is, all right? I've never played it, but I know what Fortnite is. And I watched the stream, and I just laughed my ass off when I saw him making these comments about it. Yeah, Coach Callahan's the best coach in the NFL. Calvin Ridley's better than A.J. Brown. I'm like, wait a second. Come on, man. It looks like someone knows who's going to be a Tennessee Titan here. I don't know, minus 25,000 to win $100 at this point. At this point, it would take I don't know what, it would take nothing. It would actually take nothing. Earthquakes, tsunamis. He's the number 1 overall pick. I don't see it any other way. I don't know, Will, maybe you have a different thought locally, but I think this kid's the QB.
He is. There were, before the draft process really started, kind of at the end of the college football season, there were talks of maybe the Titans trade back, maybe they go a different route, or maybe they just take the best available prospect, which probably Abdul Carter out of Penn State, the defensive end. You got to consider Travis Hunter and that talent and the versatility there. But ultimately, as the draft process went on, the Titans were like, we need a quarterback. Cam Ward is our favorite quarterback in this draft, and that's what they're going to go with. And I think that's the right move. Whether or not it works out doesn't change my opinion on what I think they should do. If you don't have a quarterback in the NFL, draft until you get one right. So that's what they're going to do with this pick.
We already hear that. Jacob, we already hear that.
We do that. We do this all the time. We talk about this every time you talk about the NFL and you don't have a quarterback, draft until you have one. PSA. But That's the consensus around here, and pros move by saying what he said on the Fortnite stream. I think we can all agree that Treylon Burks is not a top 4 NFL wide receiver. Is he a nice prospect? Does he have the potential to be better than what he's, production wise put up so far in his NFL career? Absolutely. But Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears are not 2 of the top 4 running backs in the NFL, and Callahan is a nice young head coach who could be great. We don't know. He's young, and he's been working with Will Levis, so no judgment on him yet whatsoever. But smart by Cam Ward to do that, and everybody knows that he doesn't really mean that, and that's okay. I think he's playing the game a little bit, which is good to see from a young man who's about to take over the responsibility of being the face of a franchise.
He's checking off that last box of talking to the media, right?
100%.
Right. He was compared to Shedeur early in the draft process. I think a lot of people saw him and Shedeur as 1 and 2. They, I guess, pretty fluidly separated themselves. Right. Shedeur is clearly not in the running for the number 1 pick. I think his draft stock has fallen quite a bit, actually, since, the early mock drafts for this year. Right. We're seeing some news about him with the Giants, but we're also seeing that the Giants room is a little contentious on Sanders at 3, right? Maybe the Steelers like him. Maybe Jackson Dart is a better fit. Robert, where do you see the number 2 and 3 quarterbacks going this year? We've got news on Derek Carr, might need shoulder surgery. There's also Jalen Milroe, who's in the mix. Mm-hmm. Maybe as a quarterback, maybe a team wants to move him to another position. I don't think that would work out so well, but where are we feeling the rest of the quarterbacks will go this year?
Yeah, and it's look, we have our opinions, right? And then there's money, right? And we'll just even mention to it too. Money talks, and a lot of my colleagues already have started, their predictions and opening up markets, so we could clearly see how it's going to unfold. And look, all of this won't matter until the actual pick starts to come across in just 6 days. But clearly, number 1, we've got that taken care of. The second overall pick. Now, forget about the fact that I'm a New York Giants fan for the longest time, and I have a little bit of a vested interest in this. But it does seem far, far more likely at this point that the number 2 overall pick, Cleveland's pick, is going to actually be Travis Hunter. Uh-huh. Not exactly what I would have liked, which means the number 3 overall pick is going to be Abdul Carter. It is not Shedeur Sanders, and that is pretty much the concrete is starting to set on that 6 days out, that this is the way it's going to play out. Now, I had this dream a couple of episodes ago that, I think it was Abdul Carter to Cleveland number 2, which would have had the Giants taking Travis Hunter 3. Yep. Sanders would have been sort of forgotten along the way, and then all of a sudden it's in the 20s. That's when the Giants make a draft trade. They get Sanders late, and now they reunite Hunter and Sanders on the New York Giants, and, we win Super Bowls. Okay.
That would be epic. So, that was a dream.
Let's get back to reality, though. Let's actually see what will really happen, because that's a dream. And if it happens, well, we'll circle back to this episode, but it's not going to happen. It is going to probably end up being Hunter at number 2 with an incredible selection there. And we'll probably look back to, we talked, Jacob, a bit about, how many offensive snaps or, offensive snaps Travis Hunter would get, because that's another question. Is he going to be a cornerback? Is he going to be a wide receiver? Will he be both? But with the Giants taking Abdul Carter number 3, the question is, where do these quarterbacks go, right? So the odds on the second quarterback taking will be Sanders. The 3rd overall quarterback is Dart. And then the 4th is going to be Jalen Milroe. So there's 4 quarterbacks. The question is, will all 4 get drafted in the first round? Unlikely. Probably 3 you could count on. The question is, and that's the betting question is will 4 be taken in the first round?
4.
It's a bit of a
that's an interesting
press,
that's an
right?
interesting
That's a
bet.
bit of a press. So you're saying Milroe becomes a first round pick, and that's a real push that I don't know is going to happen. But let's bring about what is now coming about with New Orleans Saints and Derek Carr, right? Quarterbacks. what is happening with this kid? Does he need shoulder surgery? Does he not? The discussion is, it looks like he either wants to be cut or traded, but all of it's now pointing towards the Saints drafting a quarterback in the first round. I'll leave this up to you and think, really, the Saints need a lot of help. And they pretty much purged out their room. And, if Carr is making comments like this a week before the draft, again, where there's smoke, Jacob, where there's smoke.
Yeah, I don't know. Derek Carr's an interesting situation. Kind of, he wasn't great in for the Raiders, but he cared so much, and to see how they shipped him off was just humiliating and demoralizing, just for kind of being an NFL fan. You felt for him, and now we see this with the shoulder. I think the Saints have to draft a quarterback. I see Jackson Dart as a perfect candidate for them. I'm very skeptical that Jalen Milroe will go in the first round, right? We saw a similar comp with Milton last year. Now he's traded. What was he traded for, a fifth? Yeah. I would be really surprised if he goes in the first round. I think that's a great prop. Will 4 quarterbacks go in the first round? Remember, I think we saw 6 last year. Didn't we see 6 in the first 12 and 14 consecutive offensive picks? That was maybe an offensive stack draft with Abdul Carter. We won't be seeing that, and we won't even be able to use that statistic because Travis Hunter is going to be drafted this year. So you can't even say anything close to that. But that's my thoughts on quarterbacks in round 1.
Okay, that's good. Will, how about you?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think Dart makes a lot of sense to the Saints. And it just feels like when they got Derek Carr, it made a lot of sense on what they had in mind. And it just hasn't played out that way. It hasn't been a great fit. He hasn't played as well as he played in Vegas, and just seemed like he was such a gamer, right? And they found ways to win, and it just hasn't clicked in New Orleans for whatever reason. So I think for both sides, it's time to move on there. And then Dart has just climbed, has impressed in pro days, and all the meetings behind the scenes and all the interviews. He must have just crushed those because he's moving up. And so that one makes a lot of sense to me. And then I think Milroe makes sense as an upside prospect, but probably slides out of that first round because, you can only draft so many quarterbacks so many years in a row. Like, some of them have stuck, right? There's just not that many open jobs as opposed to maybe the couple years prior. There's a decent amount of teams that have young quarterback prospects from the last 2 drafts, or the last 3 really, and want to, ride those out before they decide. And it's, this year and next year, I would consider light for quarterback prospects. But there weren't a ton of defensive players taken the year prior. We'll see a couple more this year. There's always wide receivers. There's going to be a running back in the first round, which you don't have every year. So there's only so many picks. 32 draft picks. So it's harder to see a path for 4 for me with who's drafting at the back of the first round, which is where Milroe could make a little bit of sense, unless somebody's willing to trade up and take a shot on him, which I don't think they would need to do. Just wait and get him in the second or the third. But you think about the Kansas Cities and the Phillies of the world down there at the bottom, the teams that made the deepest runs and had the best regular seasons. They're not going to take a quarterback because none of them had somebody retire or somebody at the end of their contract.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think if Derek Carr, if the Raiders move on from Derek Carr, I don't know where he goes. I don't know if he's a starter anymore. I think that would be the beginning of the end for him. You touched quickly on Ashton Genty. My feeling, I'm seeing Robert, you're saying he may go 6 to Las Vegas. I'm seeing if he's still there at 12 when the Bears draft, there is no way the Bears don't take him. I don't know why. It just seems like such a great fit. They're investing in their offense. They've got a pretty good defense. They've got the new coordinator in Ben Johnson, who obviously came from Detroit with 2 great running backs. I can't see him going past 12, but it sounds like he could go a little bit earlier.
Yeah, you're right. Jacob, I have him. His round prop number is 9.5. and it is
Right in the middle.
absolute. It is collapsing to the under. Right, it's teetering on the edge of just saying, you know what, why even juice this anymore? Move it down to 8.5 and just see what happens from there. But I mean, here locally, everything seems to be pointing in the direction that Gianti's going to be a Raider. He'd be a great fit. Everything that we see right now, well, obviously he's clearly going to be the number one running back, selected. Omarion Hampton, really, really talented running back as well. And no franchise should say to themselves, we didn't get Ashton, let's just settle on Hampton. It's not settling. Let's just say that Omarion Hampton, he's fantastic. He's going to be an incredible running back. But Gianti, to me, he's as good as the absolute best that we see in the NFL right now. And I think he's going to make an immediate, instant impact wherever he goes, especially if he ends up in Las Vegas.
And I think you saw how well that Gibbs and Robinson, who went 8 and 12, if I remember, in the same draft, which was a huge surprise. But they've both been superstars and immediate impact. And when you have somebody that's just can't miss, it's a pretty translatable evaluation, I'll say. Like it's much harder to predict a quarterback to come into the NFL and have success. Running backs, I think, is a little bit. It's always going to be an inexact science, scouting and evaluation, but it's a little bit easier to see. Like even Genti's floor is good enough. You're not going to be like, wow, we really screwed the pooch on that pick.
No way.
Unless he gets hurt, and that's the worry with the running back. But you can't pass on that type of talent. I remember early on in mock drafts, it was Dallas, and then just doesn't seem like he's going to make it that deep anymore.
Ain't going to make it. You're exactly right. He won't. As a matter of fact, if you want to go ahead and take a shot, there's definitely sure seems like there's real confidence on Hampton going top 20. So have him become, a Cowboy. He's fantastic. I mean, you probably take a look. There's lots to choose from when it comes down to their selection. But for everything that I'm seeing in the opening bell of markets, from just a draft pick perspective right now, Sanders definitely sliding. Gianti, number 6, maybe even earlier. Let's just put him at 6. I want to go ahead and pencil that. And I'm really confident that I see Hampton top 20, in terms of that. Both wide receivers, by the way, also going to go mid-round 1. So that's, from an offensive perspective, that's just the way I'm seeing it right now. Everyone's clicking off at those particular angles right now for those markets.
Yeah, on the running backs not being a bust, have we seen a bust from an NFL running back since Trent Richardson? I mean, when I think of busted NFL running backs, that's who I think of. But I can't think, has there been somebody since in the first round who really did not live up to their potential?
There just haven't been a ton go in the first
Saquon
round.
was a hit. Zeke was a hit.
Christian McCaffrey was a hit.
There's one kid, he didn't play because he got hurt right at the very beginning. The Carolina Panthers.
That's true. Yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was like 32nd overall.
Yeah, he was the last pick of the first round. And he even had a good year or two. It's hard to say he was a bust, but he dealt with a lot of injuries too. Who are you thinking of, Robert?
The kid that he got drafted by the Carolina Panthers. And he was Jonathan Brooks.
Okay.
He was drafted. Yeah. He was supposed to be
that was last year, though.
Right.
He was coming off a torn ACL.
Yeah, so
we'll give him one more year.
No, he's done. He's finished. You don't come back from that.
Did he tear it again?
No, I wish him well. I wish him well.
He played a little bit down the stretch, but they were already out of it. They weren't going to push it. We'll see how his year goes. Was he? Was he a second or third round?
I think he was early second, but they just extended their Chuba Hubbard for like a ton of money. I mean, Carolina Panthers are paying crazy positions a ton of money.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep, that's kind of what they're doing
with that organization.
Yeah. Last question on this segment. Will Levis. What happens to Will Levis now?
He needs to go work at Duke's Mayo.
Yeah. I mean, he's got
He's not a
sponsorship
quarterback.
money.
Our
I'm not a
kid doesn't
Will Levis
have.
believer.
Yeah, his career's at this point back up in Tennessee. You know, if he gets to become a starter someplace else, it's it's by virtue of someone getting injured.
So he's sitting on the bench in Tennessee for a year, playing out that rookie contract. I mean, I think he could get another shot. He's not that bad. I mean, he was pretty good
He's
early. Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
He's
I mean, I
really
saw
bad.
a guy throws for 300 yards without a lot of help on offense, comes into a really tough offensive situation. He turns the ball over a lot, but a lot like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, Jay Cutler, Matthew Stafford, those guys coming out of college, I mean, they were turning the ball over like crazy, and they figured it out. I mean, NFL quarterbacks are getting better early now, probably because college is getting a little bit better. All the the VR training that some of these guys are doing is helping them, just technology. But still, I think the kid gets another shot. He was
Maybe my issue there is that he didn't have success in college, and that you draft the upside, and you've seen nothing really progress like at all. So it's just tough. Like with Stafford and some of the gunslingers, you can just tell that even when they turn it over, there's just some moxie and some punch there that I just don't see with Will Levis, and it's such a intangibles driven position where you gotta see, you can kind of see it on guys, and I just don't see it on him. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a quarterback expert, but I think there's better options in the NFL now, and there will be a lot more options enter the league in the next couple of years. So I just don't see there being a huge opportunity for him unless, like Robert said, somebody gets hurt.
makes sense. We wish him the best of luck. We've got NBA playoffs starting soon. All right, we got play-in games going on. We got playoffs starting this weekend. We got the Clippers, we got the Lakers, we got the Warriors. 3 California teams. Robert, you're saying all caps, are you not entertained? What's going on here with the California teams that is so exciting?
You know, I had looked at the NBA and I figured, look, it's a long enough season, right? And then I pretty much don't pay attention to like the actual intricate details of each club until there's about 24, maybe 20 games left in the regular season, and then I could say, okay, who's here to push, and who's streaking at the right time, and obviously, I found just from even from like a betting perspective, from a futures outrights perspective, how, yeah, of course you could take a look at the Celtics and, they're one thing. Cleveland, they're obviously, number one, of course, in the East, but they just seem like, okay, you did great. You seem just a little vanilla. Nothing against vanilla. I just, like a little bit more pizzazz, something to show me, some entertainment, right? And so I'm looking at like all of these teams that are, Sacramento, not counting them, but pretty much everyone out of California's got some kind of intrigue behind them that I looked at and said, well, here's something different. Here's something new. Obviously, we all know the storylines at this point. The LA Lakers, the blockbuster trade to bring in Doncic, pairing him with LeBron James brings them to where they're at right now. They're playing Minnesota in the first round, and now Anthony, Edwards, he's got a chip on his shoulder right now. He understands. He's looking at betting markets. He knows who's favored and who's an underdog in that series. And so that's kind of the things that I look forward to. I want to be entertained that way. 12-1, a nice little price on the LA Lakers to win the NBA championship. I don't know if that's something that would be, a number that you would buy or sell on. Just the current number that I found, of course. Then there's the Clippers, who aren't 12-1. They're not even 22-1. They're like 30-1 to win the NBA title, and they're one of the hottest teams in the league right now, leading into the playoffs. Many could say, okay, how much, could they hold this together, right? And of course, much could be said about the same about every NBA team. But this trio, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, this is it. This is their absolute last dance scenario. With everything that's happening, and we already know what's happening in Phoenix, no coach. Pretty certain that Kevin Durant's gone. He's going to end up someplace else, whether it's by virtue of trade or some other way. But Phoenix, you could pretty much crumple them up. They're going to be a brand new franchise. But the Clippers at 30-1, I found to be an intriguing team because I think that they're peaking absolutely at the right time. And for those that are looking for a price, that's a team that you may want to take a look at. Of course, the other, of course, is the Golden State Warriors. I had them early on as when I looked at the trade and I saw that the immediate impact that Jimmy Butler did, I thought that this was going to be easily a top 5 NBA team. Forget about what they're going to do out west. Well, it seemed almost like it was just like I don't know, let's call it like they drank a Red Bull, right? And it lasted for a long time. They did really, really great with him in the lineup and, like injuries, right? So you can't have them both on the floor at the same time. But when and if you could have, Butler, Curry, we could have them all healthy, and much can be, again, like I said from the very top of this, as long as everyone's healthy, you have yourself a real series. I'm just happy that we don't have to see, like worlds collide, here in the first round. Show me something in the second round, but I'd like to see, something where we end up with, LA, playing LA, or who knows? I mean, obviously, we haven't even talked about the Oklahoma City Thunder, who's been, absolutely lights out all year, record-breaking type of a performance, from there. The question that I brought up is, are they really intriguing? Yeah, they're incredible, but at plus 150 to win the NBA
That's
title,
crazy.
Right?
Those are some heavy favorites. You've got the Thunder
massive.
at plus 150 and the Celtics at plus 175. That does not leave a lot of room in the rest of the pool.
That's a great point, right? Theoretically speaking, you really got to go ahead and pad it at the back end of it, for a question, which is my ultimate question my entire life is, what is your buy price, right? And so, at plus 150, do you feel happy with that? I mean, they're the best. They're a 68 win team season. They've got the MVP in, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They're young. They've got an elite defense. Great front line, that's just built for great defense and then offensive rebounding, which is what you need. And then the Celtics, they're the reigning champs, right? So they're back. And again, the real question is, can we have them all on the floor at the same time? That's something that was very rare throughout the regular season. I think it may have been like 25 times or 30 times that they actually had all 5 starters there at the same time. So I don't know. I'll present this to you. Here's something. Let's go ahead and, Will, let's start this off like this, Will. I get 2 buckets that you could choose from. Either Oklahoma City or Boston, or in bucket B, the rest of the NBA. Which bucket are you choosing?
I want to take the bucket with LeBron James and Luka and the other big 3 in LA, but I think Boston comes out of the East, and I think Boston goes back to back. So I certainly wouldn't buy it at that price. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but that doesn't feel like enough squeeze for me, but that would be who I would pick if I had to choose. So I'll take that bucket, but hesitantly so.
Good. Me, I like what I did here. I had a consideration here with Cleveland for a hot minute, but no, this is the beauty of it.
I'm walking back on that. What's the Shannon Sharp Lakers in 5? Give me OKC, UFC, KFC, Lakers in 5. I'm taking the fun bucket. I'll take the bucket with Steph Curry, playoff Jimmy, Kawhi, James, and Paul George. Like you said, literally last dance, last chance, last romance for those 3. And then obviously, you always feel good going into a postseason series with LeBron James and Luka. It doesn't matter what the regular season record is. It doesn't matter where they play the game. Though you don't feel comfortable betting against them. So somebody will have to knock off OKC. Like they're a good team. The thing about OKC is there's not a whole lot of playoff experience, like we talked about. So you just don't know how it's going to look. Doesn't mean you can't be successful if you haven't done something before, but it just means that those who have done it before kind of have that advantage of how to navigate the intensity of a 7-game potential playoff series. And so I'll change my answer to the fun bucket. Give me the Dogs.
I want to see Jimmy Butler and Steph in the playoffs. I I love Steph Curry. A lot of fun to watch. If they both win, they're playing the Lakers. Imagine Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler versus LeBron and Luca. I mean, that's going to be the most watched conference semifinals maybe of all time. That would be one hell of a showcase.
Be tough for me to pull away from that series, Stanley Cup Finals or playoffs notwithstanding. That's what I would definitely tune in for as well. It'd be great. That's actually a great point. Just the final thought here, and Jacob, this is it. This is like what I live for. When I could present,
Yeah.
the what's behind curtain number 1 and curtain number 2 to Will. This is the fun part about the gig, to see
No,
exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, he didn't pick the
And
favorite.
I did not realize
That's the beauty.
it's quite a storyline going into the playoffs. We've got the Last Dance, so we've got some new super teams, some super teams that don't have a head coach anymore. We're talking about the Nuggets.
We didn't even talk about Denver.
There's a lot of
Unbelievable.
juice.
Let's see. So we've got Tim here. Tim, we'll bring you on after we introduce you. And as we mentioned at the start of the stream, Tim Barker of Bark Bets, one of the biggest players in the entire world, Tire USA, runs Bark Bets, knows a ton about sports betting in the city of Nashville. Tim, let's bring you on.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And good to be here. And Jacob, I know we've met before as well as Will, and really appreciate the opportunity.
Of course, man. We love having you on here. Thanks for taking the time on a Friday. Not much action going on right now, but starting pretty soon. Tim, we're going to talk about the Titans, the future of the Titans. We think Cam Ward's going number 1 overall. Before we do that, anything you want to say to kick things off? I know you got a lot of stuff you're working on.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time of year from a gambler's perspective. It's kind of, for the most part, would look at it as a down time of year. I kind of see it as this is where you can be really sharp and find opportunity, whether it's the NFL draft. You guys were just talking about NBA playoffs. I think the NBA's kind of gone out to pasture this year for a lot of guys because there's so many old heads that are still in the game, and there's not a lot of young talent that's being able, especially from the media perspective, with guys like Anthony Edwards. But I think the playoffs are going to be huge and a great opportunity there. College baseball heating up, and then going into the summer with other sports that we can talk about.
Absolutely.
Tim, tell us what you think. Give us your prediction on Cam Ward, because all signs point to the Titans will take him at number 1. That's all but done. They just haven't turned in the card yet to make the selection. Do you think that will work out well for them? Do you think that's the right move? And what's the buzz around Nashville that you've been hearing just from people kind of around the city on that development? Because a couple months ago, it was kind of up in the air, and it seems like they've settled. Here we sit 6 days until the draft.
Yeah, I think you're right. The buzz is definitely 95% or greater headed toward Cam Ward. I think, if I were putting a line on it at this point, it reminds me of Carolina Panthers with Bryce Young. Everybody was pretty certain they weren't going to go with CJ Stroud. But we didn't know till that night. I think it reminds me of 2 years ago. And this draft reminds me a lot of 2 years ago. You got a lot of guys that are really good, were really good college players, but how is that really going to translate to the NFL? And then you got some guys that are just crazy specimens, like Abdul Carter, like Travis Hunter. We know athletically they're off the charts, but skill set wise, how does that translate? Or Ashton Genty, these kind of guys. So I think all things are pointing to Cam Ward. I don't see any reason why he's not a major upgrade from the likes of Levis or Willis or any of these other guys they've rolled out there in the last 2 years. I was extremely disappointed. I was at a Titans draft party 2 Aprils ago in Nashville, top of the W, and I was just vehemently opposed to Will Levis. I knew he was going to be a bust. There's very few guys I go out that strongly and are like, great, great dude. He's got a hot girlfriend. That's awesome. The guy cannot play quarterback in the NFL. Okay.
Ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, yeah. So good for him. Good for him that, he looks like a guy that, all hat, no cattle, right? Like just there's nothing to it. And, he kind of reminds me, I told people at the draft party, he's the AAU shortstop that goes in the hole and makes the amazing play. But when the ball's hit 99 times, 15 of those times it goes right under his legs. And that's who he is. And unfortunately, that does not win you 10 to 11 games in the National Football League.
Tim, this is excellent, and thanks so much for taking the time out and joining us here at the VIP Play Today show. I'm laughing pretty heavily right now because you're echoing some things that have happened to me personally as well as a New York Giants fan growing up. There was moments in NFL draft history that I said, please, no, don't do this. Don't do this now. And it's a while back ago. You may recall him. But the Giants happened to take a supplemental pick from a kid from Duke.
Yeah.
Dave Brown. Dave Brown.
Well,
right, even before, we'll get to Daniel Jones. Dave Brown was taken. I'm like, no, this can't be real. Don't make this the starting quarterback. It was the starting quarterback for many, many years. Okay, so let's move on from Eli Manning. And it happens again. I said, wait, there's plenty of great choices out here in this draft. Don't take Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I took Daniel Jones. And I said, no, this is not going to work out well. You may see sparks, but this is not going to work out well. So thank you for making me feel quite emotional about exactly what you said, because we echo something similar there. So, okay, let's just say we know it's going to be Cam Ward, right? And the talent that's going to be around, and you know what he's going to have. And then there's the rest of the rounds and the talent that could be backfilled from there, and the free agency and the things that we could do to see the Tennessee Titans improve. Now, we don't have a schedule, right? But we know you've got to play your division twice each, right? So there's 6 games right there. I posed this question to Will, and he was pretty quick on his opinion here. Let's see how you go here. Last year's season win total was 6.5. It went under, clearly. I would think that if I were to open up a number here, it would be 5.5, even less. And I would actually probably look to shade it to the under. How would you deal with that number?
I see them right around 6 wins. I think the problem is I don't think Vegas, it all depends on the Jaguars, where that number ends up falling, whether it's probably a 5.5 or a 6.5. 5.5, I take over. 6.5, I take under. The Jags have lost a ton of skill guys. Christian Kirk, to name one, coming off injury. But I don't know how Goldilocks is going to come back from the injury. And so if he's 100%,
yes,
they probably win 7 games, 6 games, which means the Titans probably don't. They're probably going to split, but then you got the rest of the division. The Colts are also a major wild card. You really don't know what you're going to get with them. I think everybody knows what they're going to get from the Texans. I think Texans easily win the division. I don't see how that doesn't happen. But regardless, I think 5 or 6 wins they will be better than last year. They have to be better than last year. I don't see it. I mean, they were pretty for sure the worst team in the NFL last year. I mean, I was here a lot, and I didn't even go to a game. I didn't go to one game.
Yeah, we did some tailgates. There was not a lot of fandom going on around Nashville for the Titans, but I like your overpick because of the volatility in that conference, right? You mentioned
Yeah,
Goldilocks, but the Jags upended their entire offense, right? Engram's
yeah,
gone.
yeah.
Uh, like the new GM and came in and they think he let go of 6 guys on day one. And then the Colts, there's you have no idea who the Colts starting quarterback's going to be. You kind of want either of them because neither of those guys, Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson, is really anything to worry about. So I like the volatility in that division, giving the Titans a couple extra wins.
Well, this is why I said go back to 23. Okay. You had guys like Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud,
Yep.
Bryce Young, couple guys like Will Levis on the next tier down, right? And then a lot of wide receivers, a lot of skill guys later in the middle to end of that round. A lot of wide receivers. Some of those wide receivers have panned out, some haven't. But look at Anthony Richardson. And that was another guy. I'm like, how is he a top 5 pick? I have
Yeah.
no. What did he
What do
do
you
at
think about
Florida?
Jalen Milrow?
Uh, I, I don't think he's a good passer. I think he is a poor man's Jalen Hurts. He runs better than Jalen, but as we've seen, you run well the first 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what happened to Richardson, right? You tear your AC joint, you get a concussion, you tear a knee ligament, whatever. Year 3, year 4, you're not running. You're not doing those 20, 30 yard runs. Now, if he gets in the open field and he gets a full head of steam, he's pretty tough. He's probably the toughest I've seen in a long time. Um, but I can't see him even remotely translating to something like Jalen Hurts. I think Hurts was a much better passer in college than Milrow. But I think he's worth a late second or early third round pick potentially. Um, as coming in as a backup on a team that you can put in running situations, or you can see how somebody pans out. I mean, maybe a situation like the Jets, right, or where they get him in a mid third round pick, and he's a backup, but who knows? 9 games in, they're tanking, and he plays the rest of the year. But guys, go back to the kind of paralleling 23 to 25. I don't see Shadur. I don't see anyone past Ward and Dart that I think of as 5 years from now a top 10 quarterback in the league. I don't see it. Um, Shadur showed me a lot of his lack of ability to truly read a defense the last 3 or 4 games of the year, especially that bowl game was a travesty. I mean, that was awful. And BYU had one of the better defenses. You know, it wasn't like they didn't know them; they were in the same conference. They just didn't play each other in the regular season. So they had tape. They had all the ins and outs. The coaches talk, right? They knew what they were getting into. It just got steamrolled. Um, I also think Travis Hunter is injury prone. I wouldn't take him number one. I mean, his legs are smaller than mine. I'm 43 years old. He's much more athletic than I am, but I would beat him in pickleball. You know what I mean? So that's just how I look at Travis Hunter. I'm like, he reminds me of RG3. That's who I think of. When I see Travis Hunter, I see spindly legs, I see injury prone from the knee down. Um, I hate that for him because I love watching him play. But I don't see it. Um, I see Pro Bowl talent in guys like Warren, like Genty, um, Abdul Carter, uh, pretty much anyone from Ohio State's team this past year that's in the draft. Those are guys. I mean, those are NFL players, right? Um, and then I do think Cam Ward. I think he is a better, quicker Russell Wilson out of college. That's who I would. He's
He's
got better
bigger,
feet
I
than
think.
Russell
Yeah.
had. He is, but Russell played his first 5 years like he was 230, 240. Like he had
Yep.
he avoided hits better than anybody I've ever seen. And when I watch Ward play, that's who he reminds me of in the pocket, where it's like he never gets laid out, right? It's like he has that way of just never getting completely laid out. So,
It's a sneaky good trait for a quarterback to have.
yeah.
Keeps, especially a mobile quarterback, right? We see, okay, it's going to be Cam Ward, right? That's kind of the consensus. We've talked a little bit about how the season goes with Cam Ward. Is Cam Ward, period, the best answer for the Titans having the number one draft pick, right? If you're the GM, are you just accepting you have the number one pick and taking Cam Ward, or do you think there's other talent you'd rather have at a better price?
I think considering what's coming behind in the draft class, so I look at it like, okay, if you don't get Ward now, if you're still one of the worst 5 teams in the league, what do you have next year? And you pretty much got Arch Manning and then a lot of
Mm-hmm.
question marks. Whereas I think if it was like 4 years ago, where you had the massive influx of great, kind of that new regime of quarterbacks coming through, you could say, oh, well, look, let's use Abdul Carter for the number one pick this year. We're probably still going to be one of the worst 5 teams. We can get Arch, or we could get this other guy next year, right? That's I think that where they're in a bind. Like, you got to take him now and have confidence that Bama, Ohio State, Notre Dame is going to produce an elite defender that you can take next year.
Tim is
I like
making
the
me
thought behind that.
happy. Tim is making me happy as a Giants fan hearing the praise for Abdul Carter, which is where I think he's going to finally call home. Is in New York. So glad to hear that. I think. Tim, I wanted to just call back for just a short bit back to the quarterbacks, and you probably already led into it with your analysis of how you projected each quarterback and what kind of a career they're going to have. But let's look at these 4 quarterbacks, and there's a number that I had in mind for the total number of quarterbacks drafted in the first round. Now, we know about 2. 2.5 seems also to be a pretty confident number, but with some really heavy wood to the over. And then if you go to 3.5, there's going to be even more heavy wood to go to under that number in the first round. Does Dart get drafted in the first round? And then I think you kind of hearken to it already. You definitely don't see Milroe getting drafted in the first round, though.
No, I think if it were my decision, right? If I were the GM, the only 3 that I could see fitting in first round caliber is, of course, Cam Ward, 2, Shadur, 3, Dart. And really, Dart could be 2, Shadur 3. Quinn Ewers, I don't see it. I mean, go look at the film of the Georgia game either time.
Right.
That's an NFL defense. That's all I need to see. Just go watch that tape, and you're like, he's a deer in headlights. He really is. He is, to me, he reminds me of a Mitch Trubisky. Like, he might come in and have 3 or 4 good games where people are like, oh, yeah, the guy, I mean, he has an arm. He's got immense arm talent. But again, I've shared my thoughts on Milroe. I don't see that. I mean, I would, if I'm Jalen Milroe, I'd be like, look, put me an H back. I can catch, I can throw, I can run all kinds of crazy, like Cordell Stewart on steroids, right? Like, that's who he should be. I don't get how they see him dropping back in the NFL and hitting somebody. I cannot see it. And I don't know if I'm missing anyone else that's on the board, but Ewers especially,
Ewers.
I cannot understand. I truly, like, Will knows, I'd shared on another podcast with him, like we were talking during that time, and I said, you know, this like Texas playing Ohio State, the only way it was close is if Ohio State played the worst game they've played. It was a trap game, right? They had played out of their minds 2 weeks, and then you're playing an away game in Dallas. And he made like one good throw the whole game. So I don't see it. I didn't see it against Clemson. I didn't see it watching all year. He came to Nashville. They barely beat Vanderbilt. I'm like, dude, NFL first round or what? No, that is not. That is not. He's like he's better than Will Levis. I'll give him that. He's better than Will Levis, but he's not. 5 years from now, Quinn Ewers, talking about making his first Pro Bowl, I would be the first to say I was wrong.
If we could just get you to tell us how you really feel, we'd be moving.
Yeah.
So no
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers, no Milrow in the first round.
Yeah.
No, could Will Howard slide up and sneak?
Oh gosh.
He could slide up, but not first. Not first.
Yeah.
Yes or
Will
no?
Howard,
Yeah. Yes or no?
No.
Could he slide up? No. Okay.
No.
I think Robert's got some burning questions. He's about to burn you up.
Okay, I love it. Hit me with them.
Tim, you've offered just some really just rich answers to these questions that we thought were going to be a little bit difficult, but it happens every episode, and it's not going to be any different for you here at all, Tim.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and just start right off here, and let's see how you handle these.
Okay.
Right from the very top, Tim, what's the best sandwich?
A chicken teriyaki sub. Grilled chicken teriyaki sub. Penn Station is the only place I've been to that has it and makes it the right way.
Penn Station in New York City?
Well, it's a chain. There's Penn
chain. Okay.
Stations all over. I don't know. There's one in Nashville. Maybe we'll start one.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. They
Guys,
toast the bread. That's really good.
that I already see that this is going to be a special episode of Burning Questions, because that one I did not see coming at all. I just got a curveball that just bent my knees pretty hard.
All right. What you got next?
Number 2, what's the one thing, Tim, that you own that you really should throw out?
Ooh, a good one.
You moved not too long ago, so you
I
had to
know.
bring
I
something.
threw a lot
that
of stuff out, so that's the problem. I threw a lot. So I've got a ton from just all the different places I've lived. I've lived in like 13 different places in the last 16 years, I think. I always end up coming to the next place with the same plates that I've had since I was like in college. Somehow they're still with me. And now it's almost like I can't get rid of them because then it's like sentimental. Like I had them 20 years. Yeah, you can't throw them out now. Why throw them out now? So it's these plates. I can't tell you the last time. If it were up to me, my girlfriend would smack me, but we'd eat off paper plates. You eat off a paper plate, you throw it away.
Be a little tough to eat a nice filet and some asparagus on paper plates, but hey, who am I to judge?
I've done it. It works. Sometimes you got to put the second one under there to support.
What about the utensils?
He
You
has done
you
it.
can't use the plastic utensils on the steak.
Well, look, I'm like I don't know if you've watched The Accountant. The Accountant 2 is coming out in a week. But I'm kind of like him when it comes to that. He's got one knife, one fork, one cup. Every time he uses it, he cleans it, puts it right back in the same place. I'm a little bit like that.
These are fantastic. All right, Tim, let's go on to the midpoint. This is how fast we've already reached it. Tim,
Okay.
what is the scariest animal?
Oh, it's easy for me. Snakes. Any snake is. I mean, black, garden snake, and my neighbor's like, "Oh, it's just a garden." No, it's still. Did you say the word snake? It's still a snake, and I'm out. I'm out on snakes. Can't do snakes.
Jacob, I swear, I keep saying we have to do like some kind of Venn diagram of all the guests we've had on with the scariest animal. I'm telling you, if reptile doesn't like circle like
Yeah.
dead center, I don't know if
Oh,
we're
wow.
doing this right. That was
Venn diagram
excellent.
would be pretty funny. Tim, we got mosquito a couple weeks ago, so I would
Uh,
agree. Snakes are much scarier than mosquitoes.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
All right, Tim, number four. Number four, have you ever asked someone for their autograph?
yeah. Oh yeah. I'll tell you the best story as a kid was living in Greenville, South Carolina. At that time, the Greenville Braves were the double A affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. My dad happened to be the chaplain for the Greenville Braves. So when I was 9, 10, 11 years old, Chipper Jones, Ryan Klesko, Javi Lopez,
Yes.
all these guys were playing for the G Braves, which was 5 minutes from my house. And my dad would come in, when we were, playing ball and stuff, he'd be like, "Man, there's this guy, named Chipper. They say he's going to be really good." And he only played for the G Braves, like half of that year because he
Yes.
was already getting caught up. One Rookie of the Year for the Braves the next year. But yeah, I mean that takes me back. And the ACC baseball tournament was also in Greenville from the time I was age 5 to 15 for 10 straight years. So that was always kind of my end of school year treat. I'd get to go out of school early, go to the ACC baseball tournament. Then it was, packed with Clemson, Florida State, UNC, NC State. My goal was to get every player's autograph on a ball. So that takes me back to those times for sure.
That's great. I'm glad I could give you a fun recall of a wonderful
Yeah.
memory. That's awesome. That's awesome. Green, yeah, it's exactly our farm team. And obviously going back, and I know that era, you had some amazing talent ending up
Oh, yeah.
becoming Hall of Famers for the Atlanta Braves. Well,
Yeah.
you did fantastic with the four, but there's one left. And this last one, Tim, go ahead and remember, very specific here. You only get to listen to one song for the rest of your life. What is it?
That's a good one. Um, I would tell you a banger that when it came out, and now even now, like if you're having a bad day, because the good days are easy, right? Drake Energy, because I'm full of energy all the
Hmm.
time. But playing that song, it's like if you're having a bad day or a good day, and you play that song after listening to it, you're like, whatever I'm about to do, let's go.
Know the song. That's a good song. That's a good album. There's some sneaky good songs on that album.
Oh yeah,
Say, I think Jungle's on that album too. That's a good one.
yeah.
Crushed them.
You absolutely. I was going to say this was a 550 footer.
Cool. Tim,
What else you guys got
five
for
burning
me?
questions. You took it out of the park. We talked a little bit about what you see going on with the Titans. We're
Hmm.
super excited to be launching VIP Play. I know you're excited about it as well. So, give you more information on that when the time is ready. And today, Tim, thanks for your time, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Guys, thank you. Doing a great job. Thank you.
Yeah, be good, Tim. Cool. It's good to hear about the Titans from someone who is right there. I mean, he's telling you what the whisperings on the street were, and he knows exactly what people are saying. Dude knows sports betting too. I think next time when we have him on, we got to have some props to share with him for the draft. I like what you did, Robert, with the over unders on the positions. But I mean, that dude knows like every bet type. So pretty cool to hear from Tim. We got one last segment here on the offensive rookie of the year for 2025. I feel like Ashton Genty is a hard one not to pick at plus 250. But Cam Ward's coming in at plus 400, Travis Hunter plus 700, Shadur Sanders at plus 800. Are we buying anybody in this pool for these prices?
I do have someone that's not named Ashton Genty, but Will, how about let's see if you want to go ahead and lean someplace else as well.
I would kind of like to see a receiver. There's always a receiver that has a big year one. It really depends on the landing spot, and McMillan is pretty consensus to be the first one, and I think he's an immediate impact. So that would be my fun pick, but it would be hard for me to take anybody outside of Genty, just because the volume that he's going to get, especially if he lands in Vegas, right? And I can't really think of anybody that would be more. I would say Dart is a good option outside of that first group. If he does end up getting drafted before the end of the first round, and it is New Orleans, he'll have Olave back. He'll have who's the deep threat they have? What's his name? I'm blanking on him. He's a speed demon.
On the Saints?
On the Saints.
I'm tempted to say Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but I feel like that can't be right.
No, it's kind of like it's not Khalil Shakir, but it's got a similar. Oh, that's gonna drive me up a wall. I'm sorry. Great live streaming, just getting stuck on a name.
Shaheed.
Shaheed.
Oh,
Shaheed is very underrated as a deep threat, and Dart throws a good deep ball, so that could be a good fit. We'll see. And he's got Kamara to help him, as kind of that insurance policy. You can always dump it down to him, and he can make plays. So I'm gonna go. Jackson Dart would be my I guess outside the box pick.
Deep quarterback makes a lot of sense. I mean, these awards are crazy tiered towards quarterbacks. If you remembered, Puka Nacua. Who was Puka Nacua competing with for the offensive rookie of the year? It was CJ Stroud, right? Puka Nacua set the all-time record for receiving yards by a wide receiver, and he did not win the rookie of the year to CJ Stroud, who had a good year, didn't throw a lot of picks, didn't throw a lot of touchdowns either, but was a quarterback and just took the award. What about a guy like Tyler Warren, Robert? Where would he be priced, do you think?
Warren's just really, really talented. And I think, again, a lot of it's going to have to, really factor in where he lands. If I look at, let me see, we take a look at where Warren might go. There's obviously the guy's just going to be an all-pro right from the get-go because tight ends obviously becoming a really important position, as you can see. I just think that ultimately when he finds himself into a home, he's going to end up getting hopefully into a system that really uses tight end offensively rather than as a run blocker or another position that may not utilize him the best. So I think if you're looking at him being put in the right place and that this is a system that's going to be built around throwing to a tight end, then we can see that happening. The issue, though, Jacob, that I have there is that he's going to have to require looks, right? Catches, receptions. So I would go back to the very top, the running back out of UNC, Omarion Hampton. And if I was going to pick someone not named Ward or Sanders, for me, it would be Omarion Hampton. Again, I would love to see where he would land. Heck, who knows? Maybe he ends up in Pittsburgh. Maybe he ends up like, Will said, in Dallas. I think he could have bell cow written all over him, and he would be a really, really great pick for a team. And again, I don't think that, some teams that obviously wouldn't be able to draft top 6, and pick up Ashton Genty. I don't think that if they said we need a running back and it can't be him, we have Omarion Hampton. I think you did very well by getting him because he's a great, great 1A to Genty's 1, in my opinion.
It's a tough market to buy into right now. There's just so many unknowns.
Before you know where they're at, for sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right. a bell cow running back makes a lot of sense. I like Tyler Warren to get a lot of looks year one. I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know where he's mocked to. I think maybe the Jets. He's like middle of the first round, but he's a big dude. He played a lot of years in college. He's ready for the NFL. I think he's someone who could hit the ground running, get 80 targets, 100 targets, put together a 10 touchdown season, maybe take home that award if no one else really stands out. I would like him. I don't know what the price is, but seems
Warren,
like he could show up early.
Warren is absolutely, if he's going to be in the top 10, that'd be a surprise. I could see him landing somewhere in about 11 to 15.
I mean, early tight end picks haven't worked out so well.
No,
Eric Ebron,
Bowers did.
Kyle Pitts.
Bowers is great. He's going to be
Bowers worked out.
amazing for the rest of his career.
He's kind of a unicorn, though.
Yeah, he is kind of a unicorn.
Typically, it takes tight ends. What's their breakout year? Year three
Like
is kind of the
yeah.
general consensus. So that's my worry with taking a tight end as an offensive rookie of the year pick. But Warren's kind of got unicorn on him too. I mean, he is massive and
So
moves, and he engulfs the football. His hands and his catch radius is ridiculous. He's a freak. Anybody that can make Drew Aller look good is a freak.
The thing about Warren, though, is he may be used more blocking than Bowers was, right? Bowers is a little bit small. I think when you said unicorn,
He's got that Kittle prototype. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
I was thinking Bowers unicorn because he's like a little undersized. I remember there was that picture of him before the draft with Gronk where he's wearing a North Face shirt and everyone's saying, hey, he looks like a Stanford coder, not a NFL tight end. And the dude comes in and what did he put up 103 receptions his rookie year? I think he did.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was over 100.
he's insane.
Will, does Drew Aller get drafted? Period. Does he get drafted? That's the question.
Yeah, he gets drafted, and that's
Okay.
a shame.
So it's all you want to say. Okay. Maybe not. That's all you want to say.
Why
He'll
is
get
it a
drafted.
shame?
I'm gonna go full Tim Barker on this one. He is not it.
No.
Oh, boy.
He's not. He's not.
He's not. He doesn't make big throws. He doesn't make good throws. He plays bad when they need him to play good. That's not the quality you want as a quarterback.
I don't even think
they had the most. They had a true gift of a playoff route to the national championship, and they quite literally gave it away. Gave it away to Notre Dame. Now they weren't going to beat Ohio State, so it doesn't matter. But
right.
all he had to do was not be get in the way, and he got in the way.
It's not even a hot take, Jacob.
No. It's right there in front of you. I mean, it's pretty tough in that college football playoff going to away stadium. I feel like none of the underdogs are going to be winning anytime soon. It's almost like a 16 seed versus a 1 seed with the home field advantage they get. I mean, none of those games were close. I think no favorite didn't cover their spread this year. The only one who was close was Clemson.
It'll be
see that
better
changing.
when they remove the 1 through 4 being the automatic bids and they just rank them. And
Is that what they're moving to?
I think so. After this year, they'll move to this where the 1 through the 4 conference champions will get an automatic bid, but that doesn't guarantee them the bye. And so, like an Arizona State last year would not have received a bye. They would have been the 10, 11, 12 seed. And so it would have, been more competitively balanced in that way. But like SMU going to Penn State, yeah. Ohio State should have never been the 8 seed. So, theoretically, what would that have done? Probably bumped Tennessee up to a home game, one of those lower seeds. Like if Clemson would have went to Tennessee, that would have been a really good game, something like that. I think you'll get better games if you do the automatic bids if you win your conference tournament or championship because you deserve that, but that doesn't guarantee you a bye. You just the top 4 seeds get a bye, and that's based off the college football playoff ranking.
Certainly makes those regular season games more important, though. If hey, I'm going to get a home field advantage in the playoffs and seeing what that does for your your university, your organization.
For sure. It just seemed kind of wonky with Ohio State being ranked, fifth in the playoff rankings, and Arizona State's 16th, and Arizona State's the 4 seed. Like it was weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a welcomed addition though, overall. A lot more fun to watch.
I love
it. It never made
12,
sense before.
No, I like the 12 is a good number. They may even go to 16. We'll see. But I think, a more traditional playoff bracket where you have to win a couple of games is solid.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's what we got for today. It's been a fun episode. Bringing on Tim, talking all about a lot of Tennessee topics today, the Vols, the Titans, and then even more Titans with Tim and going into the draft. Draft's next Thursday. So we're going to have one hell of an episode next week talking about the outcome of the first round of the draft going into day 2. If you missed the start of the show, know that Zen Sports is presenting and launching VIP Play, our new sports betting app, early in May. More details about that will be shared on X when we know the official launch date, but we can tell you already is 200 plus sporting leagues, same game parlays. We're bringing back our sweepstakes. So only a couple more weekends without VIP Play for this one. We hope you stay happy. We hope you stay healthy, and we'll see you next Friday back again for the VIP Play Today show. Thanks, everybody.